Hey guys, welcome back to True Crime with Shannon, where I cover missing persons, unsolved cases, crime news, and more. Well, there has been some new documents dropped last week in the Moscow murders, the Idaho Four case, and with everything else going on, haven't gotten to that lately. In his trial, his preliminary trial, is coming up on June 26th. So I'm going to start getting into any of the updates coming through. Now, this is from KTVB7. Documents show areas in Idaho murder suspect's apartment likely tested positive for blood. So let me play their little news clip and we will go over the information.
Right now, we're going to bring you new details on the quadruple murder in Moscow, Idaho. Documents show stains in Bryan Kohberger's Pullman apartment may be blood. Kohberger is the man charged with murdering the 4 University of Idaho students in November of 2022. News Channel 7's Andrew Bartline is here to explain what we've learned. You've been looking at this today. You're going to tell us how it connects to what we've already known.
Yeah, the police searched Kohberger's apartment in December, the same day he was arrested, across the country in Pennsylvania. Body camera footage from that search gives us deeper insight into what police were looking for and what they found, including those potential bloodstains. New body camera footage outside Bryan Kohberger's Pullman apartment show police with a search warrant.
Police department, show yourself!
This footage is from December 30th, the same day police arrested Kohberger across the country in Pennsylvania. The footage is heavily redacted, and while we begin to see officers enter Kohberger's apartment, the footage stops us from seeing anything inside his apartment. But we do know what police found. KTVB reported in January, police found a black glove, multiple hair strands, dark red stains on a pillow, a stained mattress cover, and other items. And now, this new document shows police testing those stains. The result? Both the mattress cover and pillow stains tested positive, meaning they could contain blood. But that's not all.
We found a padlock, round in shape, in the living room closet. Based on my training experience, I recognize the padlock to be the shape of locks typically used on storage units.
You're hearing a phone call between Washington State University Assistant Police Chief Don Daniels and a district judge.
All right, please proceed.
I believe the storage unit or closet was likely used by Kohberger to store the items and likely access between the time of the murders and his travel to Pennsylvania, where he was later arrested.
Daniels believes the storage unit could contain DNA evidence, including blood, skin cells, footprints, fingerprints, or hair. Daniels is asking the judge for a search warrant to enter Kohberger's storage unit.
There is probable cause, and the court hereby authorizes you to sign my name, Gary J. Livey, on a search warrant to enter the aforedescribed storage facility.
Because police conducted a presumptive test, these documents do not say definitively if the stains are blood. It just says that they could be. It's unclear if any of the items police reported that day came from the storage unit or if they were all from his apartment. Kohberger's preliminary hearing is set for next month, Carolyn. That's June 26th up in Latah County.
Interesting new information, though. Thank you so much, Andrew, on that.
So that's a lot of information that's definitely going to be used, I'm sure, next month during his preliminary trial. So I'm going to go a bit into the article here. Again, this is Pullman, Washington. In the newly released documents obtained via public records request, samples taken from Bryan Kohberger's apartment in Pullman, Washington show some presumptive positive tests for blood. The documents do not say whose bodily fluid it belongs to, but out of multiple reddish-brown stains and samples from the sink and shower drain, only 2 items were marked as, quote, positive, unquote, in the presumptive chemical tests for blood that were conducted on December 30th of 2022. A presumptive test can show that a sample is likely blood and indicates the presence of bodily fluid, but a confirmatory test is more specific. This is the first time documents show certain stains in Kohberger's apartment were likely blood stains. Kohberger, 28, as we know, is charged with the murders of 4 University of Idaho students in an off-campus home at 1122 King Road in Moscow on November 13th of 2022. Police say they matched Kohberger's DNA found at the scene that was discovered on a knife sheath next to the bodies of Madison Mogen and Kaylee Gonzalez. Xana Cardoodle and Ethan Chapin were also stabbed to death in the same home sometime in the early morning hours of that Sunday. 2 roommates who were home at the time of the killing survived unharmed. 1 swab of the mattress cover on the bed marked positive for blood, the document describing it as a brown irregular drip. The document says multiple stains were tested after 1 positive blood test. The other positive test comes from an uncased pillow on the south side of the bed, the document states. There were 2 separate stains. Only the larger stain was tested. Swabs that tested negative for blood include samples from the sinks, the shower drain, a stain under the coffee table, a stain near a computer pad, a curtain rod, and entry to a doorway. So they have the image right here. It is hard to read. Search warrant documents for what police collected at Kohberger's apartment show that they collected multiple items for testing, including the mattress cover and uncased pillow that later tested positive for a possible presence of blood. Yeah, the fact that there's an uncased pillow still, I don't know, bothers me for some reason. Here is what police found during that search. 1 nitrate-type black glove, 1 Walmart receipt with a Dickies tag, 2 Marshall's receipts, dust container from a vacuum, 8 possible hair strands, 1 Amazon Fire TV stick with cord plug, 1 possible animal hair strand, 4 other possible hair strands, 1 computer tower, 1 collection of a dark red spot collected without testing, 2 cuttings from an uncased pillow with reddish-brown stains, 1 stain tested, top and bottom of a mattress cover with multiple stains. Kohberger's, of course, next hearing in the case is June 26th. So, it's really definitely strange that they found all this evidence, and of course they got the warrant to search the storage facility. So it seems to me like there's quite a bit of evidence the more we're learning about the case. And another update on the Idaho Four case, roommate Bethan Funke was subpoenaed to testify in June. Her lawyers and her were fighting that, but they've since come to an agreement. So let's check out the clip from Law and Crime with Jesse Weber.
New updates in the Idaho College student murders case. One of the surviving roommates has now agreed to an interview with Bryan Kohberger's defense team after fighting to stay out of the proceedings. 21-year-old Bethan Funke lived in the same off-campus home where Madison Mogen, Xana Cardoodle, Kaylee Gonzalez, and Ethan Chapin were all brutally stabbed to death in November. This week, we learned that the surviving roommate will meet with lawyers from suspect Bryan Kohberger's defense team at her home in Reno, Nevada. Now, according to court documents, Funke's lawyers initially argued against their client testifying at the June preliminary hearing or even during a trial. But in new filings on Wednesday, both sides have agreed to the defense's interview in order to dismiss Funke's subpoena. Depending on the information that Funke gives investigators, she could ultimately skip out of that preliminary hearings.
I don't blame Bethany for wanting to not be involved. That said, we don't know if or what Bethany knows. The probable cause affidavit only listed Dylan, the other roommate, in it. We haven't heard much of anything until all this news about Bethany. She was supposedly downstairs on the first floor, so if she heard or saw anything, I'm sure that obviously the state knows it and she told law enforcement, but that said, I don't blame her for not wanting to be there for the preliminary trial in June. It sounds like this deal where she's going to talk to the attorneys. I think that's probably sounds like pretty good to me. Hopefully they will not harass her. But again, we don't know what she knows. And I do think that that's her testimony, unless she saw as much or more than Dylan. I don't foresee how that is needed in a preliminary trial, from what I understand. In a preliminary trial, they just are basically trying to prove that they have enough evidence to prosecute the suspect, which is Bryan Kohberger. And from what we have seen and heard, they do. And I don't think Bethany's testimony, when it does come during the actual trial, is going to do much, beforehand. But again, as much as we don't like a defendant, an accused murderer like Bryan Kohberger, everyone has a right to great legal or good legal representation, and it sounds like his defense team is doing everything that they can to ensure that their client has the best representation. So for that part, I do give them, kudos for that. And guess we're going to see what comes of their interview with her. And then if they try to push that subpoena for June. So let me know what you guys think on that one. I really just hope that they take this interview and then not bother her until later proceedings. That's my thinking on that one anyway. And the last bit of an update I've got is the video, the body cam, from when Bryan Kohberger was pulled over about a month before the Idaho murders.
Hello, I am Officer Loangus. Stops being audio and video recorded. I think you know why I stopped you. You ran the red light.
What actually happened was I was stuck in the middle of the intersection.
Yeah,
so
I was behind you the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So technically you're not supposed to enter the intersection at all for that reason, because if the light turns red, then you're stuck in the intersection and then you run the red light. So that's the reason I stopped you. Do you have your license on you?
Yep.
Do you have the registration and insurance?
Yes. Let me just get this for you out.
You what?
I'm just gonna get this out for you.
Okay.
So would you explain that to me a little bit further? So in Pennsylvania, when you're stuck like in their intersection, you have to make the left. So what would the appropriate thing for me to have done been? Just
You're not supposed to block an intersection like that in Washington, so just by you blocking the intersection, that's technically a ticketable violation, and then you're running a red light, so it's another ticketable offense. So you're not supposed to proceed into the intersection until you can go, because a lot of people do what you just did, right? Is like you're sitting in the intersection waiting, and then turns, and then you're blocking, so.
Yeah, there was a little bit of confusion with speeding because someone had stopped. I wasn't sure what they were doing, and then they put on their light to turn. So I thought that maybe they were letting me go through.
Oh.
Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, like right before I made the turn, there was someone who like made a right. And they didn't have their signal on, so I wasn't sure if they were just waiting.
Yeah, so I would just advise just don't enter the intersection until you can go, so you don't get stuck. Let's see.
But in that situation, the best thing to do then would be back up and not.
I don't know if there's a best thing to do in that situation, because you're either going to back up into somebody or you're going to run a red light. So, or you're going to be sitting in an intersection.
Yeah.
There's not really a great option there.
Yeah, I was just slightly into the crosswalk, so where I'm from Pennsylvania, we actually don't have like crosswalks.
Oh,
so even if you're kind of slightly there's a little bit more leeway as well. Like there are a few lines. Like there's one white line and there's another one in front. Like there's like a certain margin from which you can actually kind of put your vehicle, place your vehicle.
Yeah. So I know laws vary state to state, but there is a law in Washington for blocking an intersection like that, proceeding through when you don't, when you're just stalling. I forget the actual verbiage. I can find it for you, but it's like stalling, blocking an intersection.
Yeah. I'm just curious about the law. I don't mean to.
Oh no, I can find it for you. Yeah.
But,
1 second. That looks good on a Hyundai. I don't see Pennsylvania registration like at all. Okay, let's see. Expires November 22nd, or 2022. Okay. And
yeah, one of those is actually.
yeah, okay, that looks good. I'll hand that back to you. I'm just gonna go check your info. I'll try to find that RCW, the law for you, and I'll be right back.
Thank you.
All right. Sierra 331, code 4 driver.
Go ahead.
Last of Kohberger, King, Ocean, Henry, Boy, Edward, Robert, George, Edward, Robert. First of Bryan, Boy, Robert, Young, Adam, Nora. Middle C, Charles, date of birth 112194, Mount Washington.
George Union Robert Adam Lincoln, first parent Tom Adam Robert Young Nora, in custody.
Go ahead.
Genesis license through Washington 11/2027. The vehicle is valid on a 2005 Hyundai Sonata.
Copy. It should be an Elantra. Recent.
Copy. It might be. It actually says the Dan. So that's my bad.
Sierra 334 stopping.
334.
Okay, so I found it. So I don't know what in Pennsylvania where you go to find laws, but in Washington it's called the Revised Code of Washington. So I'll try to turn my brightness up, but it's just called an RCW. So it's RCW 46.61.202. So it's no driver shall enter an intersection unless there is significant space on the other side of the intersection. To accommodate the vehicle he is operating without obstructing the passage of other vehicles, despite any traffic control signal indications to proceed. So you had a green light, so you're thinking you can go, but you're blocking the intersection. Yeah. So that's, if you're ever curious in any laws in Washington, just Revised Code of Washington. So I'm not writing a ticket or anything like that today. I understand you're from Pennsylvania, but in the future, don't proceed through the intersection. You can't get stopped for that alone, unless you can clearly just clear it right away.
Okay.
So
then basically, I understand.
You're just supposed to wait behind the white line. Drivers do it all the time, but
it never even occurred to me that was actually something wrong. But well, except for the fact that I was blocking the crosswalk, which is what I went through.
And states vary a lot from laws. Like Pennsylvania might not even have that law. But in Washington, we do.
I'm actually just from a very rural area, so we just don't have crosswalks.
Oh.
Unless I visit an area where there are crosswalks, and then it's not very frequent.
Yeah.
I do apologize if I was asking you too many questions about the law. I wasn't trying to
No, not at all. Like I understand you're not from here, so If you don't, a lot of people don't know a bunch of laws. Like, I only know it because this is what I do. But yeah, if you're ever curious on any more laws, just RCW, and they can be hard to read because it's in like legal language. But hope that helps.
Definitely.
That's kind of weird, isn't it? We don't have like crosswalks. You don't have crosswalks in Pennsylvania. I don't know. I find that that was a weird thing. And then he repeats it again when she comes back to the car. So, and I can tell you one thing that sticks out immediately. His eyes, man. They just freak me out. I don't know about anybody else, but just the way he looks at people. I don't know. There's just something about it. I don't know if because we already think that he's done these crimes, he's suspected of or what, but his eyes and those bushy eyebrows, man, it just, oof, kind of gives me a shiver. But, he's asking a lot of questions. I don't know if, that has to do with the fact that he was just trying to, be friendly with this officer, or if he had an ulterior motive or what have you. But I don't know. I found some of the stuff where he was asking questions where it was either just very out of curiosity or he was just trying to, come off as Mr. Nice Guy, and he was hoping that she was going to let him off, which she did. But the comment about that we don't have crosswalks and that we have a little more leeway there about how we do things, I don't know. It's just a little weird to me because, I don't know. But that said, that is the body cam footage that just was released a couple days ago. Let me know what you think of it. I don't think there's too much to it, except that, he's curious and, that could just be him even before all this. So it's kind of hard to know, but he seemed generic, pretty genuine. But then again, I'm sure Ted Bundy was too back in the day. But that's all I've got for you guys on this one. I'll try to keep you guys more appraised of the updates a little more frequently. But again, we are hitting up, we're in May now, so closer we get to that preliminary trial, that pre-trial, definitely be having more updates on the channel again on the Idaho case. So let me know what you think in the comments. And with that said, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. And most of all, stay safe.